How a single Sherman became a legend before it ever reached the French coast. In the cold hours before dawn on June 12, 1944, 6 days after the first waves hit Normandy, an American M4A1 Sherman tank known only by its chalk code B-17 crawled across the rolling surf under a moonless sky. Inside, 5 men sat in total silence, except for the grinding churn of the Continental R975 engine reverberating through the hull. The tank wasn't supposed to be at sea at all. It wasn't a DD amphibious model. It wasn't even waterproofed properly. But fate had a habit of choosing its own vehicles. At 0240 hours, the tank sat lashed to the deck of landing craft tank 4142, part of a small armoured push meant to reinforce the American beachhead near the village of Trévières. German counterattacks had increased in frequency, fueled by fresh reinforcements from the 352nd Infantry Division. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. Reports from the front described ambush tactics, hidden anti-tank guns, and panthers operating from the shadowed hedgerows like big game predators. American commanders feared that if these counterattacks weren't blunted soon, the fragile lodgment at Omaha might fracture. So, Company B, 746th Tank Battalion, received its orders. Land before dawn, move inland before German artillery zeroed the beaches, and push armour toward the rising ridgelines near Hill 92. That was the plan, at least. But plans in Normandy rarely survived first contact with the bocage. Inside B-17, the crew made their final checks. The tank commander, Sergeant Frank Delgado, a farm boy turned armoured veteran, leaned down into the turret basket and checked on his crew. Gunner, Corporal Irwin Ike Metcalf, a quiet artilleryman turned tanker, known for his uncanny accuracy. Loader, Private Eddie Haskins, barely 19, who had lied about his age to enlist and still carried a comic book inside his jacket. Driver, Private First Class Samuel. Red Wheeler, a mechanic from Ohio who treated the Sherman like a sacred machine. Assistant driver, bow gunner, Private Calvin Brooks, the oldest at 33, a former steelworker with hands like stone slabs and nerves to match. They had survived on the continent for 6 days, an eternity for a tanker in Normandy. 1 in 4 Shermans that rolled off the beach on D-Day had been destroyed by nightfall. By June 12th, attrition was reaping its harvest 1 hedgerow at a time. Delgado had no illusions. Stay sharp. The Krauts ain't giving up any ground today. The bow gunner Brooks only nodded, adjusting the .30 caliber ammunition belt. Wheeler, hands on the controls, muttered a prayer to no one in particular. Metcalf calmly checked the elevation wheel of the 75mm M3 gun. Haskins double-checked his stack of HE and AP rounds, whispering to himself, "Come on, baby." Together. They were not a remarkable crew by any standard. Their Sherman was not special. It was only one of thousands. But history had decided that this morning, this machine and these men would become the exception. And exceptions are how legends begin. At 0307, the enemy struck first. A German artillery battery, likely 105mm howitzers from the 352nd, began dropping shells dangerously close to the incoming landing craft. The sea erupted in towering columns of black water and shrapnel. Lieutenant James Carlson, commander of the small landing flotilla, shouted into his radio, "Gun crews, brace for impact. Tanks stand ready." 1 shell landed so close it hurled a wave over LCT 4142, drenching B-17 inches icy foam. The tank rocked violently, and Brooks grabbed the 30 calories mount to steady himself. "What the hell is this?" Haskins yelled. "Welcome to France," Delgado replied. The landing craft throttled forward, its ramp already peppered with fragments. A shell exploded, 60 meters off the bow, and the concussion tore apart a neighboring LCT. A plume of steam, metal, and bodies erupted into the night. The crew of B-17 watched in horrified silence as a Sherman from the sister craft slid sideways into the ocean, sinking turret first. Delgado swallowed hard. Wheeler muttered, "Christ almighty." There was no time to mourn. At 0321, the ramp dropped with a crash. "Drivers, go! Tanks, move!" Carlson screamed. B-17 roared to life, gears grinding as Wheeler shoved the transmission into first. The Sherman lurched forward, splashing into chest-deep surf. Salt water washed over the bow as the tracks churned through the shallow tide. The tank reached sand after 10 seconds. Tracer rounds from MG-42 positions whipped overhead like fiery hornets. Delgado stuck his head out of the cupola for a single moment, long enough to see their target, a narrow breach in the seawall marked by engineers earlier that night. "Red, hard left, get us off this beach." The tank rumbled forward, climbing over debris, shattered landing craft parts, and bodies half buried by the tide. Machine gun fire pinged off the hull like hail on a tin roof. They were still 300 meters from the hedgerows. The first German round struck at 0328, a 50mm PaK-38 anti-tank gun, hidden behind a collapsed farmhouse fired at B-17's left side. The shell hit the glacis plate with a thunderous metallic shriek, sending sparks across the hull. Inside the tank, the crew felt the impact as a violent punch. Haskins screamed, "Hit! That's a hit!" Metcalf checked the interior. "No penetration," Delgado shouted. "Traverse left, I see him." "On it!" Metcalf yelled. Wheeler pushed forward to angle the armor as he had been trained. B-17's turret turned, and Metcalf fired an HE round. The explosion tore through the farmhouse, silencing the PaK gun. One hit survived, 13 to go. At 0335, as B-17 approached the first hedgerow, 2 more hits struck almost, simultaneously. A 75mm shell from a Stug 3 assault gun lurking behind foliage slammed into the right side. The armor buckled inward, but didn't crack. 5 seconds later, another round ricocheted off the turret's mantlet, showering Delgado with paint chips and dust. "Jesus Mary, this thing's getting chewed up," Brooks shouted. But the tank still moved. The crew still breathed. Metcalf fired blind into the hedgerow, prompting the stooge to reverse. The German gunners had expected a knockout. Instead, they had awakened an angry Sherman. Delgado didn't hesitate. "Punch through the hedge. Now!" Wheeler revved the engine, and B-17 slammed into the earthen wall. The tank rose at a steep angle, tracks clawing for traction until the 33-ton machine toppled over the other side, crashing into a muddy French meadow. The crew groaned and coughed through the dust. They were alive. The Germans couldn't believe it. The moment B-17 cleared the hedgerow, it exposed itself. Again. 2 Panther tanks, positioned hull down at 400 meters, opened fire. The 4th hit struck the turret, but failed to penetrate due to the awkward angle created by the tank's recent plunge. The 5th hit gouged into the Sherman's side skirt, ripping open a steel plate but failing to reach the inner hull. The 6th round skimmed above the turret, severing the tank's pintle mount and sending the 50 calories machine gun tumbling into the mud. Haskins cursed. "There goes our top gun," Metcalf shouted. "AP loaded. Engage the Panther on the right," Delgado ordered. AP rounds from a Sherman couldn't penetrate a Panther head-on at that range. Everyone in the crew knew it. But hitting the mantlet? Damaging the optics? Forcing the turret crew to button up? That could buy precious seconds. Metcalf fired. The AP round sparked harmlessly off the Panther's armor, but the German gunner flinched. Wheeler took the opportunity to ram B-17 into a drainage ditch, braking, line of sight. Delgado wiped mud from his eyes. That's 6 hits. She's still moving. Keep her moving. By 0400 hours, B-17 had linked up with 2 infantry squads from the 116th Infantry Regiment, pinned down by MG-42 fire pouring from a stone barn. Lieutenant Crawford, crouched behind a dying apple tree, waved frantically to the tank. "You boys still alive in there?" Delgado opened the hatch. "Mostly. What Dyer got? Machine gun nest in that barn. They've slaughtered half my squad." Delgado ducked back inside. "Ike barn, 11 o'clock. He!" Metcalf took aim. Haskins shoved an HE round into the breach. Boom! The shell shattered the barn's front wall. A second shot finished it. Infantry surged forward, cheering the tank. Behind them, another artillery barrage began to creep toward the beach, but B-17 kept driving inland, cutting through hedgerows like a battering ram. At 0417, deep in the fields east of Trévières, German defenders sprung a deadly trap. 3 hidden anti-tank positions opened fire at once. A Pak 40 75mm gun at 600 meters. A second Pak 40 at 400 meters. A captured French 47mm gun repurposed by the Germans at 250 meters. The 7th hit smashed directly into the hull, just below the driver's periscope. Metal screeched and bent inward, knocking Wheeler unconscious for 3 seconds before he snapped awake. I'm good, keep going." The 8th hit tore into the Sherman's rear plate, destroying the stowage boxes and sending debris whipping past Brooks's head. The 9th hit struck the turret ring, jammed it for 2 seconds, then the ring groaned and broke free. Metcalf shouted triumphantly. "We still have traverse," Delgado roared. "Return fire." 3 HE rounds silenced the French gun. 2 more took out the nearest Pak. The farthest Pak 40 retreated behind a barn. 9 hits, no penetrations. The tank was scarred, dented, buckled, and somehow still fighting. Brooks wiped sweat from his brow. "Frank, this tank ain't normal." Haskins nodded nervously. "Feels like she's made of something else." Wheeler, hands trembling from the earlier concussion, whispered, "She's taken hits that should have turned us into sardines." Delgado stared at the interior walls. The dents were inches deep, plates bent inward, weld seams cracked, but somehow nothing vital was struck. "Maybe," Delgado said softly, "we got a guardian angel welded in here with us." The crew fell silent, because in that moment, even they started to believe it. At 0453, near the hamlet of Lalande, B-17 encountered its greatest challenge, a Panther, a Stug 3, and a 75mm Pak 40, all positioned to destroy any armor approaching the crossroads. The 10th hit came from the Panther at 800 meters frontal, shot dead center on the upper glacis. The tank rocked violently. Sparks showered the interior. But again, no penetration. The 11th hit came from the stewed striking, the right track assembly throwing a bogey wheel clear off and locking the right track. Wheeler tasted blood in his mouth. "Track's done! We're dead in the water!" Delgado didn't hesitate. "Then we fight from here." Hit 12 struck the turret roof. 13 tore through the storage rack. 14 detonated on the left side, blowing open a palm-sized hole in the armor. Shrapnel tore through the interior, slicing Haskins across the shoulder and embedding in the radio. He screamed, but stayed conscious. "Still here! Still loading!" The tank had taken 14 direct hits. The crew was bleeding, exhausted, and nearly out of ammo. And the Germans were closing in. At 0512, As German infantry began advancing, an American M10 tank destroyer platoon arrived from the south. The M10s opened fire immediately. Their 3-inch guns punched into the Stug, setting it ablaze. The Panther reversed under fire. The pack gun crew abandoned their weapon and fled. An infantry sergeant sprinted toward B-17. "Tank crew! That tank is done! Get out!" "Get out!" Delgado hesitated. Then he smiled. "She's taken 14 hits, but she ain't dead yet." "You boys should be dead," Delgado replied. "Tank won't let us." By the time B-17 was hauled back to the beachhead by recovery crews, crowds of soldiers had gathered around the Sherman, counting the impact craters like archaeologists examining a relic. 14 direct hits, 0 penetrations of the fighting compartment, 1 lightly wounded loader, 0 dead. German prisoners later insisted the tank was bewitched, protected, or not a normal Sherman. One German gunner swore his Pak-40 had hit it 3 times in the same spot, yet the armor refused to give way. Even American ordnance officers were baffled. The report filed that evening read, "A legend had been born before daylight touched Normandy. The Germans would come to fear that tank, the Americans would come to revere it, and B-17's story was only just beginning." Elias didn't sleep that night, not really. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw it again. The spark that shot from his fingertips like a streak of white fire, slicing the dark of the abandoned quarry. He could still feel the warmth buzzing under his skin, subtle, like a sleeping engine humming to life. By the time sunlight seeped through the thin curtains of his room, the hum had grown louder. He sat up in bed, breath held. It was still there. He held his hands out in front of him. Nothing. He waited. Still nothing. And then, crack. A tiny arc of silver light snapped across his knuckles like static. He yanked his hands to his chest, eyes widening. It hadn't been a dream. "What's happening to me?" he whispered. But the walls didn't answer. His mother's voice carried up the stairs. "Elias! Breakfast!" He nearly jumped out of his skin. He wasn't ready to talk to anyone, wasn't ready to pretend everything was normal. But normal was a luxury he felt slipping through his fingers. He got dressed carefully, palms closed into tight fists so he wouldn't see anything he didn't want to. The light crackles, the warmth, the potential to hurt someone. He swallowed hard. Downstairs smelled like coffee and fried eggs. His mother, still in her work uniform, looked up as he entered. "You're up early?" She frowned. "You look pale." "You okay?" "Fine," Elias lied. He sat, picked at his food, tried not to think about the strange electricity still weaving in and out of his bones. His mother watched him for a moment, then softened. "If something's bothering you, you know you can tell." A plate slipped from the counter behind her. Elias turned instinctively. In his mind, he imagined grabbing it before it shattered, and then the plate froze in midair, not falling, not rising, just suspended. Him, an invisible thread connecting his outstretched hand to the object across the kitchen. His mother didn't see yet. Her back was turned. Panic slammed through him. "Stop! Please stop! Fall! Do something!" The plate obeyed. It crashed to the floor. His mother spun around. "What was that?" Elias forced himself to shrug. I think it slipped." She sighed, too tired to question further. "Just be careful. We can't afford to keep replacing things." Elias nodded weakly. Inside, he was unraveling. School was a blur. Teachers talked, students laughed, sneakers squeaked across the hallways, everything normal, everything wrong. Because every few seconds, he felt a tiny spark roll beneath his wrist. or his fingertips twitched when he passed by metal lockers, or someone brushed by him and he felt the air ripple. He tried to act casual in class, but his pencil kept vibrating in his grip, not shaking, vibrating, like it wanted to break free. When the bell rang for lunch, Elias exhaled hard and slipped outside behind the gym, where no one ever went except kids trying to skip class. He leaned against the brick wall, pressing his hands flat against the rough surface. "Calm down," he whispered. But the power inside him pulsed stubbornly, like a heartbeat out of rhythm. Footsteps approached behind him. He stiffened. Someone rounded the corner, a girl he recognized vaguely from class. Lena Mercer, quiet, always reading, always looking like she knew something no one else did. She stopped a few feet from him. "You're Elias Hale, right?" He blinked. Yeah." She stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You might want to stop trying to hide it." His chest tightened. "Hide what?" Lena stared at him, really stared, as if she were peeling back layers he didn't even know he had. "I saw what happened in the quarry last night." Elias's blood ran cold. "No one was there," he whispered. "I was." She crossed her arms. "Blew a tree apart with your bare hands. That's not exactly subtle." Elias felt like the world tilted beneath him. His mouth went dry. "You. Why were you there? Why didn't you say anything?" She shrugged. "Because I've been waiting." "For what?" Lena's eyes flashed. Not metaphorically, literally. A faint shimmer of gold rippled across her irises before fading. Elias took a step back. "What are you?" "Same thing you are," she said calmly. "Awakening." The word hung heavy between them. "I don't understand," Elias said. "I didn't ask for this. I don't know what's happening to me." "That's why I'm here," Lena replied. "To help you before someone else finds you first." "Someone else?" Before she could answer, the air temperature dropped sharply. A shadow fell across the ground behind them. Elias turned slowly. A man stood at the end of the narrow path, tall, dressed in a dark coat that billowed in a breeze that didn't exist. His face was sharp, expression unreadable. His eyes, they gleamed silver, the same color as the sparks from Elias's hands. "Found you," the man said. Lena swore under her breath. "Elias, get behind me." Elias stared at her. "What's happening?" "No time," she hissed. "He's a seeker." "A what?" But the man was already raising his hand. Shadows, actual shadows, curled around his fingers like black smoke. Lena grabbed Elias's wrist and yanked him behind her. "Run!" Lena lifted both palms, and golden light burst from them like a shield. The attack slammed into it, sending a shockwave through the air that rattled Elias's teeth. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The light held, but cracks formed along the surface. Lena gasped. "He's stronger than I thought." "You're wasting your strength," the seeker said calmly, stepping closer. "The boy belongs with us." "He doesn't belong to anyone," Lena shouted. The seeker flicked his wrist. Lena's shield shattered like glass. Elias felt the power inside him surge in panic. It rose, wild and unrestrained, answering fear with force. The seeker reached out a hand. "Come here, Elias." Hearing his name from that man's mouth broke something in him. "No," Elias whispered. "Stay away from me." The seeker stepped forward. Elias felt everything inside him explode outward. Not fire, not lightning, something else. A shockwave of white energy blasted from his chest like a pulse from a dying star. The force hurled the seeker backward, slamming him into the brick wall at the end of the path. The wall cracked. The man collapsed to one knee, dazed but alive. Elias stared at his hands. They glowed faintly, veins lit like molten metal beneath his skin. I didn't mean. You saved us, Lena said quickly, grabbing his arm. But we need to leave, now. The Seeker staggered to his feet. Impressive. You're stronger than expected. His coat emitted more shadow, swirling around him like living smoke. Lena pulled Elias. Move! The Seeker's voice echoed after them, calm and chilling. You cannot run from what you are, Elias Hale. We will find you. They didn't stop until they reached the edge of the old mill outside town, half abandoned, half rebuilt, covered in rust and creeping vines. Lena finally let go of his arm. Elias collapsed onto a wooden crate, panting. What was that? Who was he? What did I do? Lena leaned against the wall, catching her own breath. Okay. Listen. There's no easy way to say this. Say what? You're not human. Not fully. Elias stared at her. That's not funny. I'm not joking. Her voice softened. You're an Arkborn, Elias. A rare one. And your powers. They're waking up fast. Arkborn? Elias repeated. It means you're born with energy inside you. Ancient energy. Not magic, something older, stronger, and far more dangerous. Elias shook his head. No, I'm just a kid. I have school, homework, a life. You also just threw a fully trained Seeker into a wall, Lena said flatly. A normal kid can't do that. He swallowed hard, remembering the shockwave, the glow under his skin, the way the Seeker had flown like a rag doll. So what do they want with me? Lena hesitated. Arkborn are supposed to join them, to be weapons. Seekers hunt us before we awaken fully. And you? I ran, she said simply. For years. Elias felt a cold pit form in his stomach. They're going to come after me again, aren't they? Yes. And you're just going to help me? Why? Lena looked away, guilt flickering across her face. Because I owe someone who saved me when I awakened. Who? His name was Calum, she said softly. He was Arkborn like us. Strong, kind, a leader. He built a refuge for kids who awakened early, a place to train them, protect them. Was? She exhaled. Seekers killed him last winter. Elias's heart sank. I promised him I'd find the next one, she continued. The next powerful Arkborn who could stand against the Seekers, someone with enough strength to keep our people alive. Elias felt the air leave his lungs. And you think that's me? I know it is. I don't want this, Elias whispered. I just want my life back. Lena met his eyes. You don't get to pick the power, Elias, but you get to choose what you do with it. He looked at his hands again. The glow was gone, but the memory lingered warm and terrifying. I don't know how to control it, he said. I'll teach you, Lena replied. If you let me. He closed his fists slowly. What happens if I say, no? Then the Seekers take you, she said honestly, and you won't like what they turn you into. Elias looked toward the horizon, toward town, toward home, toward the life slipping away. He wasn't ready. He wasn't brave. He wasn't anything like the hero Lena insisted he could be. He was just a boy with something monstrous and luminous, living under his skin, a boy who had accidentally stepped into a war he had never asked for. He exhaled, trembling. Okay, he whispered. I'll go with you. Lena's expression, softened relief, mixed with sadness. Good, she said. Then we leave tonight, before more Seekers arrive. Leave? Elias blinked. What about my mom? My life? Elias. Lena's voice faltered. Staying puts her in danger, and you're not ready to protect her yet. He felt his chest tighten painfully, but he didn't argue. He stood slowly. "Where are we going?" he asked. Lena managed a small, bittersweet smile. "To the last safe place for people like us," she said. "The sanctuary." Elias looked at the glowing horizon. The hum in his bones returned, stronger than ever. His old life was over. His new one had just begun. The sun dipped low by the time Elias had packed everything he could fit into a small backpack, some clothes, a few snacks, an old photo of his mother holding him as a toddler. He paused several times while packing, staring at the familiar walls of his room, the posters, the messy stack of comics, the window overlooking the quiet street. It all felt like a goodbye he wasn't ready to make. Downstairs, the house was silent. His mother was on her night shift at the clinic. He'd left a note on the kitchen table, just a simple message. "I'll be okay. Don't worry about me. I promise I'll come back." He hoped it wasn't a lie. When he stepped outside, Lena was waiting by the old oak tree near the road. She wore a dark hoodie now and carried a canvas satchel slung over one shoulder. "You ready?" she asked. "No," Elias admitted. "But I'm here. That's enough." They didn't take the streets. They cut through the trees, following a narrow dirt path that led behind the edge of town. Lena kept looking over her shoulder, scanning the shadows. Elias felt the air prickling around him, as if the night itself was holding its breath. "Are seekers really looking for us already?" he asked. "They look the moment an Arkborn awakens," Lena said. "And you awakened loudly." Elias grimaced. "Sorry." "Don't be. It saved both of us." They walked in silence for a while. Crickets chirped, branches swayed, and the cool wind rustled through the leaves overhead. Elias felt small and unsure, but beside him, Lena walked with steady purpose. "Where is this sanctuary?" he asked. "Far from here. Hidden. Protected by old wards and Arkborn who trained under Calum." Elias looked at her. "You said Calum built it. If he's gone, who leads it now?" "No one really leads," Lena said quietly. "We survive. We wait. We try to keep each other safe. But people are scared. We lose more every year." Elias swallowed. "Because of the Seekers. Because the world won't accept what we are. Seekers are just one of the groups hunting us. Humans, governments, others. They want to control us or destroy us." "That sounds like every dystopian movie I've ever seen. I wish it were just a movie." They crossed into open fields. The town lights glimmered faintly behind them, fading until they were only memories. Lena stopped at a cluster of large rocks. "We wait here," she said. "For what?" "Our ride." Elias frowned. "What ride?" A sudden rumbling interrupted him. The ground vibrated. Something whirred loudly. Elias stepped back nervously as a motorcycle emerged from the darkness, its headlights off until the last second. The rider wore a leather jacket, goggles, and a scarf covering their lower face. The bike skidded to a halt just feet from them. The rider pulled the scarf down. She looked about 18, short black hair shaved on one side, eyes a stormy grey. "Tessa," Lena said, relieved. "Glad you made it." "Barely," Tessa replied. Her voice was sharp, her expression serious. "Seekers swept the south entrance of town. They're moving fast tonight." Her gaze snapped to Elias. "So this is the new one?" Elias tensed. "I have a name, you know." Tessa smirked. "And you have no idea what you've just stepped into." "Tessa," Lena warned. But Tessa had already swung one leg off her bike. "We don't have time for niceties." You both sit in the back. Hold tight. This thing isn't exactly built for comfort. Elias stared. You want all three of us on that? Unless you prefer walking toward the people who want to kidnap you, Tessa said, raising an eyebrow. Elias got on the bike. That's what I thought. Lena climbed on behind him, gripping his shoulders for balance. Tessa revved the engine. The roar echoed across the empty field. Hang on, Tessa said. This is going to be rough. She tore across the landscape, the wind slicing past them, the night smearing into streaks of dark. Elias clung tightly to the frame of the bike as they jolted over uneven terrain. His heart pounded. Every second felt like they were outrunning death. 20 minutes later, the bike skidded to a stop near the mouth of an old railway tunnel long abandoned. This is not the sanctuary, Elias said, looking around. No, Lena said. This is the entrance. Tessa switched off the engine. Silence swallowed them. Listen carefully, she said. Once we enter the tunnel, stay close. Don't wander off. And whatever happens, do not touch the walls. What? Why? A scraping sound echoed inside the tunnel. Tessa's face went pale. Move, now. They hurried inside. The tunnel was cold, almost unnaturally so. The air felt heavy. Elias felt the hairs on his arms rise. Why is it so dark? He whispered. It isn't dark, Lena said. It's veiled. Veiled? But before she could answer, the darkness around them rippled like water disturbed by something unseen. And then Elias heard it. A whisper, soft, echoing, too close. Turn back. He froze. Did you guys hear that? Tessa exhaled sharply. Great. He hears the shades. The what? But Lena grabbed his wrist and pulled him forward. Ignore them. They're remnants, echoes of Arkborn, who died here long ago. They're not dangerous unless you touch the walls. Why the walls? They digest energy, Tessa said flatly. Elias made a sound that was definitely not brave. The whispers grew louder. Lena's hand tightened on his. It'll be fine, she said. Just stay. A voice drifted out of the dark. Elias. He stopped cold. That voice, it sounded like his mother. Lena whirled around. Elias. Don't listen. But Elias couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Mom? He whispered. Come home. Please, come back to me. He took a step toward the wall before he realized it. Lena shoved him back just in time. Do not touch it. A section of the wall pulsed open. Not cracked, opened. A black, gaping maw revealed inside a swirling void lined with white, jagged shapes that clattered together like teeth. Elias stumbled backward, horrified. Tessa cursed. Shades are getting stronger. We have to move. The tunnel seemed to narrow around them as they hurried forward. Whispers crawled along the walls, voices of strangers, children, sobbing, pleading. Elias felt light-headed. Lena gripped his arm harder. We're almost there. Don't look back. They reached an arch of stone deeper in. Strange symbols glowed faintly across it, soft blues and violets intertwined, like constellations. Tessa touched the center symbol. Light exploded outward, washing the darkness away. Elias shielded his eyes. When the light faded, the tunnel was gone. They stood on a ridge, overlooking a hidden valley illuminated by moonlight. Small buildings clustered together beneath glowing trees with shimmering white leaves. A river of silver water cut through the valley like a living ribbon, and at the heart of it all stood a towering structure of marble and crystal, majestic, quiet, alive. Elias's mouth fell open. What is this place? Lena stepped beside him. The sanctuary, she said softly. Home. For the first time since his powers awakened, Elias felt a flicker of awe instead of fear. They descended into the valley. Shapes moved between the buildings, young people around Elias's age, some older, each emitting faint auras, sparks, glows, ripples, shadows. Every one of them was different. Some stared curiously at Elias as he passed. Tessa parked her bike beside a wooden post. "Don't let this place fool you," she muttered. "Beautiful doesn't mean safe." Elias frowned. "Safe from what?" "From ourselves," she said quietly. Before he could ask, a boy with fiery red hair approached. Or rather, his hair looked like it was made of fire, small embers drifting off it and dissipating into the air. He grinned. "New kid, huh?" Elias stared. "Your head is burning." The boy laughed. "Only when I'm excited. I'm Jace. Lena? Tessa? Good to see you alive." "Barely," Tessa muttered. Jace winked. "Well, we'll keep the kid breathing." Elias wasn't sure that comforted him. Lena nudged him forward. "Come on. You need to meet the others." They moved deeper into the sanctuary. Elias noticed the contrast immediately. Laughter on one side, training on the other. Some Arkborn practiced abilities, one girl levitating stones, another creating small whirlwinds with a flick of her wrist. "Everyone here has powers?" Elias asked. "Yes," Lena said. "Some stronger than others, some unstable, some dangerous." "And me?" Lena hesitated. "You're unique," Tessa snorted. "He's a walking beacon. Seekers will chase him until one of us dies." "Not helping," Lena snapped. Tessa shrugged. "He needs reality, not sugarcoating." A long table sat at the center, surrounded by 6 other Arkborn teenagers, each powerful-looking in their own strange way. One stood as they entered, a tall boy, with dark hair and eyes like polished obsidian. His aura shimmered faintly red. Elias felt something off about him immediately. He gave Lena a tight smile. "You brought him?" "Yes," Lena said. "Elias Hale. He awakened yesterday." The dark-haired boy circled Elias slowly. "He doesn't look like much." Tessa rolled her eyes. "You didn't look like much either before you melted a training room." Elias glanced between them. Hi." The boy stopped in front of him. "I'm Rowan," he said. "I look out for this place while the leaders are away." "Where did they go?" Elias asked. Rowan didn't answer. Instead, he leaned in slightly. "Lena thinks you're special, strong, worth risking everything for." Elias swallowed. "I didn't ask for any of this." Rowan's eyes darkened thoughtfully. "No one asks." He straightened. "We'll test him tomorrow." "Test?" Elias stammered. "A power assessment," Lena explained quickly. "Basic. Standard." Rowan smirked. "Nothing here is basic." Before Elias could protest, another figure burst into the hall, an older girl with tattoos that glowed blue along her arms. "Seekers spotted outside the northern ridge," she said breathlessly. Elias's heart dropped. "They followed us," he whispered. "Probably tracked the flare of your power," Tessa muttered. "Told you he's a beacon." Lena grabbed Elias's shoulder. "Don't panic. They can't enter the sanctuary without breaking the wards. We're protected." Rowan's gaze hardened. "For now." Elias felt a chill crawl down his spine. Lena squeezed his shoulder. "Rest. You need strength for tomorrow." "But you're safe," she said firmly. He didn't believe her. Not fully, because somewhere beyond the glowing trees and silver river, in the darkness past the wards, seekers waited, watching, hunting, and Elias could feel it like a distant echo vibrating through his bones. They were coming. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.